You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
Supreme Court Judge blasts Trump for attacking America's highest bench, based on an article by Matthew Rosso. The court that fed the beast now complains about its teeth. The source gives us a small but revealing scene. Justice Elena Kagan, sitting beside Justice Amy Coney Barrett, asked the Senate for more security and warned that Trump's attacks on the court are dangerous. That is true as far as it goes, but the larger story is not that Trump is being unfairly rude to judges. It is that the most powerful institution in this episode has already spent years enlarging his power, insulating him from consequences, and then acting startled when he uses that power like a weapon. The court is not powerless. The Supreme Court is not a victim drifting through events it cannot control. It is an institutional gatekeeper that has already handed Trump major victories, including allowing him to fire supposedly independent officials and shielding him from most prosecution. Those are not symbolic favors. They are structural gifts. When a court gives the president broad immunity and weakens constraints on executive power, it does not merely interpret the law. It changes the shape of the presidency. It teaches the office that force is cheaper than restraint and that accountability is optional. Trump's language is not the whole crime. Trump called the court a disgrace, fools, and lapdogs. That language is crude, threatening, and deliberately corrosive. Kagan is right to say intimidation is not the same as criticism, but the focus on rhetoric can become a distraction if it obscures the machinery underneath it. Trump does not only attack institutions with words. He uses words to condition followers, justify pressure, and normalize the idea that any institution that resists him is illegitimate. The point is not that he has opinions. The point is that he turns public office into a megaphone for coercion. Security is a symptom, not the story. The justices went to the Senate to ask for more security. That request tells you more than the rhetoric does. It says the court understands it has become a target in a political environment it helped make more dangerous. It wants protection from the fallout of the very system it has helped stabilize around concentrated executive power. This is the recurring trick of elite institutions. They treat the consequences of their own choices as atmospheric conditions. A court expands presidential power, then asks for more security when the president behaves like a stronger president. The institution gets to appear alarmed without accounting for its own role in producing the risk. The misdirection is the point. The cleanest misdirection in this story is the suggestion that the main issue is disrespect toward judges. Respect matters less than power. Trump's insults are not the deepest problem because they are not the deepest source of danger. The real danger is that the court has repeatedly shown it will absorb pressure from the executive branch when that pressure aligns with its own preference for power, hierarchy, and impunity. That is why the article's framing is incomplete. It presents Trump's attacks as an escalation detached from a broader institutional bargain, but the bargain is visible. Trump demands domination. The court, with some exceptions, delivers legal architecture that makes domination easier. The pattern behind the theater. This is not just about one president and one bench. It is about a political order in which accountability is treated as optional for the powerful and urgent only for everyone else. Trump speaks in the register of open intimidation. The Supreme Court, by contrast, often speaks in the register of restraint while producing outcomes that strengthen the very authoritarian style it claims to worry about. That is the pattern: public outrage from institutions that are careful to sound above the fray, paired with decisions that keep moving power upward. The language changes. The results do not. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Ultranet for today's article. With the automated voice of Kuzal, thanks for listening.